I could never cause you grief. Consider our wedding off. You return this Wesley to his ship?
Yes.
Then we will simply alert him. Beloved, are you certain he still wants you? After all, it was you who did the leaving in the fire swamp. Not to mention that pirates are not known to be men of their words.
My Wesley will always come for me.
I suggest a deal. You write 4 copies of a letter. I'll send my fastest 4 ships, 1 in each direction. The dread pirate Roberts is always close to Florin this time of year. We'll run up the white flag and deliver your message. If Wesley wants you, bless you both. If not, please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Are we agreed?
Cut to a very thick grove of trees. The trees are unusual in one respect. All of them are extraordinarily heavily knotted. Pull back to reveal Humperdinck and Rugen walking into the grove of trees.
Your princess is really quite a winning creature. A trifle simple, perhaps, but her appeal is undeniable.
Oh, I know. The people are quite taken with her. It's odd, but when I hired Vizzini to have her murdered on our engagement day, I thought that was clever. But it's going to be so much more moving when I strangle her on our wedding night. Once Gilder is blamed, the nation will be truly outraged. They'll demand we go to war.
Now, where is that secret knot? It's impossible to find.
Finding the knot on the tree, he hits it and it opens, revealing a staircase leading underground.
Ah, are you coming down into the pit? Wesley's got his strength back. I'm starting him on the machine tonight.
Tyrone, you know how much I love watching you work, but I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilda to frame for it. I'm swamped.
Get some rest. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything.
Levers and wheels and wires, you name it, it's there.
Beautiful, isn't it? It took me half a lifetime to invent it. I'm sure you've discovered my deep and abiding interest in pain. At present, I'm writing a definitive work on the subject, so I want you to be totally honest with me on how this machine makes you feel. This being our first try, I'll use the lowest setting.
The albino starts attaching suction cups to Wesley. We see a dial with numbers ranging from a low of 1 to a high of 50. Rugen goes to it. He turns the dial to 1. Wesley has suction cups on his head now, on his temple, on his heart, his hands and feet. He says nothing, keeps control of himself. Count Rugen fiddles with his machine a moment more, and then he opens the floodgate, water pouring down the chute and turning the wheel, which in turn really gets the machine going. Cut to Wesley, and he's lying on the table, and he's only flesh, and the chains are metal and thick. But such is his desperation, it almost seems as though he might break them. A terrible sound comes from his throat, and incessant gasping. It keeps on coming as we return to Count Rugen. He switches off the machine, picks up a large notebook and pen, sits in the chair. As the noise of the machine subsides, Rugen opens the book to a blank page.
As you know, the concept of the suction cup is centuries old. Well, really, that's all this is. Except that instead of sucking water, I'm sucking life. I've just sucked 1 year of your life away. I might one day go as high as 5, but I really don't know what that would do to you. So, let's just start with what we have. What did this do to you? Tell me. And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest. How do you feel?
We see Wesley in anguish so deep it is dizzying. Helpless, he cries. Count Rugen watches the tears and then starts to write.
Interesting. When was true love will follow you from afar.
Prince Humperdinck, turning quickly, gives a sharp nod to Count Rugen, who immediately takes off out of the chapel with the 4 guards. And as they reach a complex intersection of several corridors, Rugen stops, incredulous, as Wesley, Inigo, and Fezzik move toward them. Actually, Fezzik is dragging Wesley, who is in turn dragging Yelen's sword like a stiff dog leash. Wesley simply hasn't the strength to raise it.
Kill the Dark One and the Giants, but leave the third for questioning.
And as his warriors attack, Inigo goes wild. And maybe the warriors are good, maybe they're even better than that, but they never get a chance to show it because this is something now. This is Inigo gone mad, and the 6-fingered sword has never flashed faster. And the 4th warrior is dead before the first one has even hit the floor. There is a pause, and then...
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
For a moment, Rugen just stands there, sword in hand. Then, he does a most unexpected thing. He turns and runs the hell away. Inigo, momentarily surprised, then takes off after him, leaving Wesley and Fezzik to exchange curious looks, and Rugen runs through a half-open heavy wooden door, shutting it and locking it just as Inigo throws himself against it. He tries again. No kind of chance.
Fezzik, I need you!
I can't leave him alone.
Inigo desperately pounds at the heavy door.
He's getting away from me, Fezzik!
I'll be right back.
He props Wesley up against a large suit of armor and takes off toward the intersection where Inigo's voice came from. Fezzik approaches, gestures for Inigo to stop hammering the door, and with one mighty swipe of his mighty hand, the door crumbles. Then he sprints on, and then Inigo closing the gap, closer, closer, and he's down the stairs and heading into a dining hall. Count Rugen throws the dagger. Inigo tries like hell to get out of the way, but no, and it sticks deep into his stomach, and he hurtles back helplessly against the wall of the room, his eyes glazed, blood coming from his wound. The room is going white on him.
Sorry, Father. I tried.
Cut to Count Rugen looking across the room at Inigo. He stares at Inigo's face, and then touches his own cheeks as memory comes.
You must be that little Spanish brat I taught a lesson to all those years ago. It's simply incredible. Have you been chasing me your whole life, only to fail now? I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. How marvelous.
Inigo sinks. Cut to Buttercup shutting the door of the honeymoon suite, crossing quietly to the far wall where she sits at a table, opens a jeweled box, and takes out a very deadly-looking dagger. She seems very much at peace as she touches the knife to her bosom.
There's a shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It would be a pity to damage yours.
And Buttercup whirls as we cut to Wesley lying on the bed. Yelen's sword is beside him. His voice sounds just fine, but he does not move. Buttercup leaps to the bed, covering him with kisses. Wesley is helpless.
Wesley! Oh, Wesley, darling! Wesley, why don't you hold me?
Gently.
At a time like this, that's all you can think to say? Gently?
Gently.
And she lets go, thumping his head against the headboard. He groans. Cut to Count Rugen, looking very much surprised as Inigo pulls himself up.
Good heaven! Are you still trying to win?
Pull back to reveal Inigo, struggling feebly, pulling the dagger from his stomach. Holding the wound with his left hand, Rugen is pushing off from the table, sword in hand, moving in to kill Inigo.
You've got an overdeveloped sense of vengeance. It's going to get you into trouble someday.
Inigo watches the Count approach, and the Count flicks his sword at Inigo's heart. And there's not much Inigo can do, just kind of vaguely parry the thrust with a 6-fingered sword. and Count Rugen's blade sinks deeply into Inigo's left shoulder. Inigo doesn't seem to feel it. His other agonies are so much worse. The Count steps back, going for the heart again. Cut to Inigo, and as this blow comes, he's trying to use the wall for support and forcing himself to his feet. And it's not a roaring success of an attempt, but he does at least make some progress. And again he manages to parry the thrust, as this time Rugen's sword runs through his right arm. Again, Inigo doesn't seem to mind, doesn't even feel it. Cut to Count Rugen stepping back for just a moment, watching as Inigo continues to inch his way to his feet. And then, just before the Count is about to strike again, Inigo manages a little flick of his own, and Rugen hadn't expected it. And he jumps back, making a little involuntary cry of surprise. Inigo slowly pushes away from the wall.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Inigo falls to lean on the table. Count Rugen, suddenly going into a fierce attack, strikes with great power and precision, for he is a master swordsman, and he forces Inigo easily back, drives him easily into the wall. But he does not penetrate Inigo's defense. None of the Count's blows hit home. As the Count steps back a moment, Inigo pushes slowly off from the wall again.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Stop saying that!
And again the Count attacks, slashing with wondrous skill, but none of his blows get through, and slowly Inigo again moves forward. Count Rugen retreats more quickly around the table. Inigo drives for the Count's left shoulder now, thrusts home where the Count had gotten him. Then another move, and his blade enters the Count's right shoulder, the same spot Inigo was wounded.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
No.
Offer me money.
And now the six-fingered sword strikes, and there is a slash bleeding along one of Rugen's cheeks.
Yes.
Power 2. Promise me that.
The great sword flashes again, and now there is a parallel slash bleeding on Rugen's other cheek.
All that I have, and more, please.
Offer everything I ask for.
Anything you want.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch!
And on that, almost too fast for the eye to follow, the sword strikes one final time. Count Rugen cries out in fear and panic as the sword hits home dead center, and we see the sword clear through the Count. They are almost frozen like that for a moment. Then, Inigo withdraws his sword, and the Count pitches down, dead. His skin is ashen, and the blood still pours from the parallel cuts on his cheeks, and his eyes are bulging wide, full of fear. Cut to Inigo staring at Rugen. And now Inigo does something we have never seen him do before. He smiles.